Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley is asking the FBI to start a criminal investigation into Planned Parenthood. The committee released a detailed report about Planned Parenthood's possible illegal harvesting and sale of baby body parts. Oklahoma Senator James Lankford applauded the recommendation, calling the abortion giant, quote, barbaric. He says it is time to use taxpayer dollars to support women's care without supporting abortion.
U.S. intelligence officials are accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of being personally involved in alleged manipulation of the November 8th election in America. The officials were quoted by U.S. media saying that Putin personally instructed how material obtained from the U.S. Democrats should be leaked and used to sway the election in favor of Donald Trump. They say Putin's primary goal was to take a revenge against Trump's Democratic rival Hillary Clinton. But the goals later transformed into an effort to show that American politics is corrupt. Meanwhile, the agency overseeing U.S. intelligence says it will release more information about Russia's alleged attempts to influence the vote after a review is complete. The review was ordered by President Barack Obama, who wants it to be completed before he leaves office. Russia has denied the U.S. allegations.
Premium hikes will add $10 billion to taxpayers' bills under President Obama's Affordable Care Act next year. That is according to a new study by the nonpartisan Center for Health and Economy. This comes as the Republican-led Congress is making plans to repeal Obamacare and replace it with an alternative. The study estimates the cost of premium subsidies under Obamacare will increase to $42.6 billion. This is an average monthly increase of $76.
In California, a suspected hate crime outside a mosque in Simi Valley. Now, police say John Mattinson confronted worshipers outside the mosque, and after a verbal altercation, he stabbed a man. Police say the victim was targeted because of his religion. Police are also looking for a second suspect who also may have been involved in that incident.
Pastors in Massachusetts are celebrating a big win for religious freedom. It comes after the state revised its interpretation of an anti-discrimination law that involved how churches dealt with important biblical issues, including sexuality. As Heather Sells reports, it would have forced many churches to break the law in order to follow their beliefs.
As the country's strictest anti-discrimination law, it threatened to control how churches communicate about gender and sexuality and how they operate their bathrooms. The strategy, the Massachusetts State Attorney General and Anti-Discrimination Agency deciding that a church would be considered a place of public accommodation if it hosted a secular event, such as a food pantry. Under a public accommodation designation, the church would be forced to follow the law and its rules about gender identity. Pastor George Small and 3 other pastors sued the state, saying that it violated their First Amendment rights.
It could affect me as a pastor and what I teach and how we operate as a church. I mean, this is new ground.
Pastor Small was joined in the suit by pastors Marlene Yo, Esteban Carrasco, and David O'Coin. They also spoke with CBN.
This law is really tying our hands, not allowing us to be who we are. And the government has no place.
There all this talk of a wall of separation of church and state. Where is it when it comes to something like this?
The victory for the churches comes with a new interpretation of the law. The Massachusetts Attorney General's office now says that it was not right to automatically consider houses of worship as places of public accommodation.
They recognize that they have no legal authority to apply this law carte blanche to churches.
The pastor's attorney says they are overjoyed by the state's decision and are dropping their lawsuit.
It's a great day in the state of Massachusetts when both the Commission and the Attorney General recognize the freedom of every church to operate consistently with its faith.
The Attorney General's office even credited the pastors for taking on the state, noting, quote, "Your lawsuit caused us to focus on these issues and to make this revision." Now there's a growing precedent that churches should not be considered places of public accommodation when it comes to LGBT laws. In Iowa this fall, a federal court shut down a similar attempt to classify churches.
It's an excellent sign that the Massachusetts Commission and Attorney General have likewise backpedaled and said, look, we admit that the First Amendment protects the freedom of churches to operate consistently with their faith.
Holcomb notes that the Massachusetts win would not have happened without these 4 pastors and their willingness to take a stand. Both the Massachusetts and Iowa victories should serve at the least as a warning to any other state trying to use LGBT laws to control churches.
Bombshell, sacrificing children to the state of California, SB 18. Watch out for the big money behind this operation. It's The Secret, a bill introduced by the notorious Richard Pan, the mover and shaker behind the mandatory vaccination law in California. This new one, SB 18, is a grab bag of generalities, basically giving over care of the children to the state. The bill states, the legislature finds and declares that all children and youth, regardless of gender, class, race, ethnicity, national origin, culture, religion, immigration status, sexual orientation, or ability, have inherent rights that entitle them to protection, special care, and assistance, including but not limited to the following: the rights to parents, guardians, or caregivers who act in their best interest, the right to form healthy attachments with adults responsible for their care and well-being, the right to live in a safe and healthy environment, the right to social and emotional well-being, the right to opportunities to obtain optimal cognitive, physical, and social development, the right to appropriate quality education and life skills leading to self-sufficiency in adulthood, the right to appropriate quality health care. Now, this is all very general, as he says, and this all sounds good, but the fear that I have is that the state is just going to declare or decide what each of these actually mean. So let's say, you have a kid and the state declares that you're an unfit parent or something in your history is infringing upon that child's rights to all these generalities in this bill. Well, then they're just going to take your kid. You'll have to sacrifice your kid to the state for whatever reason. That's my fear in this. SB 18 is also an invitation to immigrants anywhere in the world who can get to California with their children or will give birth to children after arriving. This is also a good point. So I guess that means that if you can get to California and have your baby in California, that now that baby attains all of these same rights in this bill. This is something that a lot of people are talking about. Should we be more concerned about veterans of this army, of our army? Should we be more concerned about homeless people in this country, American babies, or just any baby around the world? Should they get the tax dollar of the people in California to have their children? SB 18, a group is referred to, the Peninsula Partnership Leadership Council. The Peninsula Partnership is a group organized within the San Mateo County Office of Education. The PPLC is composed of San Mateo County Superintendent of Schools, the County Board of Supervisors, and the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And this is the one that has John Rappaport all fired up. The Silicon Valley Community Foundation makes up of Alexa Pharmaceuticals, Microsoft, PepsiCo, Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, Dell, Symantec, Unilever, which is one of the mass producers of all types of products all over the world, has their hands all over this. Plus something called the SV2 Silicon Valley Venture Fund. So this is where we get into some of the money behind these operations. This is how some of this stuff comes about. So now the state of California has this bill, and they can declare all of these rights that a child has. So that means now they have to support that child and all those rights with all of these new products, all of these new healthcare products that, I wonder who's gonna be providing them. Probably the Alexa Pharmaceutical Company. Maybe some of this food is provided for by PepsiCo. And that's where you start to mix business and state, and you have to wonder what is the true motive behind these things. So again, I just leave this to you. John Rappaport is all freaked out about this. You can go on and read the article. He's talking about how this is a bigger part of the technocracy and the planned society, but I leave that up to you. But it's important that we understand how these bills are passed, what the wording means, and what is behind it, and then what that means to your rights as far as the state telling you what you can do with your child.
This is where we fight.